You are listening to the Billy Dees podcast.
We are waiting just a minute for everyone to engage the live stream. Remember, you can find the Billy Dees podcast on your favorite platform.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the live stream. If you're new here, we wait just a moment for everyone to refresh their app, whatever they need to do, lock on to the live stream. We're about a minute in, so we're pretty good. So I'm going to pause just a moment, and then I will begin the podcast. Thank you. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. My name is Billy Dees. If you've never been here before, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you found us. We are primarily an interview and a commentary-based podcast. You can find the Billy Dees podcast just about anywhere podcasts are found. We have about a 10-year. The Billy Dees podcast in its current iteration is about 10 years old. So we have a long history, very easily found on your favorite platform. We're going to talk about a couple of things, mostly just, I don't want to say pop culture, not too much serious stuff today. Oh, and by the way, we are live on X, and we also go live on Facebook. But X is primarily where we're at when we do a live, and we're on Friday night. We have chosen Friday night. We are now live on Friday. Friday turned out to be... we tried a couple of weekend nights over the past year, and they did very well. And we just decided Friday night would be a good night instead of Thursday, especially with all the work that we do here during the week. Sometimes we get really crunched on Thursday night. So we have a little bit more time to breathe. You know, obviously Saturday, is a wide open day. So we chose to go with Friday night, and we're going to be tracking this, see how it works on Friday. But anyway, we're going to talk about Prince Harry. And I'm also going to talk about Bill Belichick. So I'm going to hit both of those topics tonight. This should be a fun one. I'm going to have some fun with this. Try to anyway. Nothing too serious here tonight. But anyway, Prince Harry. This is interesting. Prince Harry recently loses his security court case appeal, which he brought against his own father's government. And basically, this has to do with the security that a lot of the royals have for life. That's very similar to what presidents have in, after their presidency, they have protection for the rest of their life. And I'm kind of on board with this in terms of, with presidents and all that. I do believe that that's the least we can do for them. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. Some of them we like. Some of them we don't. But we don't want former leaders to be targets. So I'm very much on board with that. Now, Prince Harry is a little bit of a different case. Now, and let me give some background here, just some context. I know a lot of people are down on the royals. They're both loved, and a lot of people don't understand them. And let me clarify a few things about the royals, and this is my own opinion. Okay, this isn't objective information. It's based on objective information, but this is kind of where I put things with the royal family. The royal family, for the most part, is a calling that you're born into. And you could make the presumption that, yes, you're born with a lot of privilege, but you're also born into a very rigid lifestyle. The royal family is excellent in terms of a PR system for the British government. They are absolutely public service. And that's one of the things that I have to give props to for Prince Harry, is that Prince Harry he served his country, and he did so. I mean, it wasn't a token position. I mean, he was in some hostile situations, and he performed very well by all accounts. One of the things that I remember about Prince Harry, this was a number of years ago. This was years back. But he came to the United States for a visit, and he paid a visit to the soldier of the unknown in the unknown grave at Arlington Cemetery. And he did a routine there where he spun around on his heels in this immaculate uniform and saluted the tomb of the unknown soldier. He saluted that in a way that brought a lump to your throat. And he looked like he belonged there a lot more than any president ever has. I mean, he looked like he belonged there. And we owe a lot to the land of Britain, whether we admit it or not. I know that the general, around the 4th of July, we always talk about, well, we got our freedom and da-da-da-da. And yes, we did. But we owe a lot as the United States to Western culture and Western styles of government. Little things like trial by jury, stuff like that. And things like governors being able to pardon people. That is a descendant of nobility. And by the way, pardons were always supposed to be something to correct a clear miscarriage of justice. They were never supposed to be a political tactic, something that you do to win over a certain part of the electorate. That's not what it was for. It was supposed to be something where you had the opportunity to correct a clear miscarriage of justice. And that function, like I said, comes from British style of government. And I could go on and on with this. Parliament and our Congress and so on, right down the line. Even our presidency, in terms of the modern prime minister of the UK, it's all very similar. And whether we admit it or not, we like British culture. There's something about a British actor that is special. I don't know what it is. British rock stars, they seem to do very well. And I got to say that there's a certain thing about a British accent that will make whatever you say believable. You say something with a British accent, and it sounds so majestic. It sounds so wonderful. And I know there's a lot of people say, well, have we got it past kings? And this discussion comes up a lot with the Middle East and other places around the world when we talk about kings and so on. The fact of the matter is we have made miscalculations in our foreign policy over the past 20 years under the presumption that, being a type of democracy, that we have this is the best. We kick in the door in some of these foreign lands and some of these cultures and say, hey, we got democracy for you. We're going to give you this. And to quote another Brit, Winston Churchill once said that democracy is the absolute worst form of government except all of the rest. And the way I interpret that is that it is the least of all the evils. All right. So when we kick in the door into some of these cultures and say, hey, we got this democracy for you, what we're giving them is the least of all the evils. It may not be the best for them. And that's why a lot of times this democratization, is that the right word? You know what I'm trying to say? The idea that we're spreading democracy, is that such a noble thing for everybody around the world? Maybe, maybe not. A king has some clear advantages in terms of how he runs the country, queen, whatever. In terms of, we have to wait for committee. You know how long it takes to get anything through Congress? A king doesn't king doesn't have that problem. Now, in modern Britain, it's a little different. A lot of people don't get this, but the government itself is actually run by Parliament and the Prime Minister. The king is the head of state, which is a little bit of a different thing. And and by the way, a lot of people are under the impression that the modern royals don't have any power, and that's not the case at all. If you delve into this, you'll find out that the king has a number of pretty significant duties and privileges that he can use almost like an executive order. So I'm not down at all on the royal family in those terms. I actually think that, getting back to when Prince Harry did that salute at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, this is somebody who was clearly well-trained, clearly a public servant, much more so than a lot of the children. We always say that the royals are privileged, but let me tell you something. They paid their dues in a lot of cases. And the children of presidents, you talk about undisciplined, privileged little bastards. Yeah, this is I'm not down on this part of it at all. Okay, I think where Prince Harry got into trouble with his family members and the British public at large is the way he turned on them. There was this, betrayal. I believe the British people say this when you write books about how terrible, the royal family is, all the things they did to you. And one of my personal things is disclosing very intimate, maybe conversations and other things that go on with your family to the world. You should be able to talk about your closest people in your life, whether it's your wife or your husband, your children. You should be able to discuss anything. And sometimes when you're discussing something, you blow off steam. There's been times when I was in sales, I would get really frustrated with a particular client, and I would go into the back office and that dirty, rotten, blah, 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 and it would all have our little backroom discussion. And then once you released all that, then you say, okay, how do we make this person happy? How do we do this? How do we do that? And we come up with some sort of a strategy to keep that client at the firm, right? And, I come out and put my best face on and do what I need to do. And sometimes you actually felt better about it after it was over, And for someone to take that part of that conversation and just throw it out there would leave an impression of me that is not complete. It's not necessarily dishonest, because maybe I did say those things. Maybe I did do those things. But as that whole situation evolved, it's not an accurate depiction of what happened. So I really don't like it when someone's confidence is betrayed. You should be able to say something to your son or your daughter or your parents and not worry about it being on the radio the next day or being talked about in some goofball book. And let's take a look at Prince Harry here. This is what he had to say in the wake of the decision. And this could change, but apparently a court in somewhere said that, the decision stands that he doesn't have security. Let's take a listen to what Prince Harry said.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. I love my country. I always have done, despite what some people in that country have done. And I think what really worries me more than anything else about today's decision, depending on what happens next, is that it's set a new precedent that security can be used to control members of the family, and effectively what it does is imprison other members of the family from being able to choose a different life. I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. You know, he won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile.
All right. Here again, getting back to what I said about the British accent. What he says there with such a stiff upper lip and the jaw and the stiff jaw, and this sense of a very dangerous precedent, for people that don't want the lifestyle. I got to say, with a fair amount of confidence that had Prince Harry, when he decided that, you know what, I'm not sure I want to be a prince. If he'd have just went to the royal family and said, hey, look, I'm not really into this. I don't want to do it. And especially in light of what happened to his mother with the paparazzi and the way she was pursued her whole life. If he said, I just want to go get married and have a family and live a life, quiet off in the distance somewhere and just enjoy my life, I can't imagine that there would ever been an issue about this. But that isn't what he did. Let's quote some Brits here. Piers Morgan. He says he trashed his family as Prince Philip was dying. He trashed his family as the Queen was dying. And now he's trashing his family as both his father and sister-in-law have been battling cancer. Is there a more contemptible public figure in the world than Prince Harry? That's what Piers Morgan said. Dan, I'm not sure if I'm saying his last name correctly, Wooten, he's also a Brit. Don't slam the door on your way out, Prince Harry, you delusional conspiracist. By the way, the vast majority of the British public are delighted the king has cut you out to focus on his cancer recovery. And delighted William has the balls to say you've gone too far, Baldy. All right. So to put this in context, and this is here again in my attempt to bring some levity to the situation. What has happened here is Prince Harry has done to the royal family what happened in Prospect Park, Pennsylvania, where a road rage incident occurred when one driver apparently cut off the other, and it escalated into one of the drivers defecating on the other car. I have some video of this, and for the audio audience, you will hear the reaction. Here we go. You can hear somebody saying, you are a real pig there. And that is what Prince Harry did to the royal family, with all these allegations about how badly he was mistreated. What were some of the things that the royal family was speculating on what color the baby was going to be, and all this other stuff. Yes, it comes as a real shock to me that people who have a centuries-long history of cutting off heads to preserve the bloodline was interested in, that could be totally innocent. A lot of times, people will get married. They have different ethnicities or whatever. And they say, well, which side is the baby going to take after? But anyway, here again, did these private conversations, and they most certainly were private, should they have been thrown out there for the world to debate without knowing exactly what the context was, exactly what all these other things were? And that's what he did to his family. So he basically said, hey, I'm out of here. Go F yourselves. He shit on the hood of their car, okay, figuratively, and said, hey, see ya. And now he's saying that, but I still want some of the perks. There's this thing about them keeping the title of whatever majestic title they both have, Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle. And then the thing about security. Now, as far as I'm concerned, he's got plenty of money. And he doesn't need to be traveling the world as a statesman because he's not that anymore by his own choice. So, being able to have private security like a lot of celebrities do, a lot of them, it should not be, all he has to do is write another book about the royal family. The last one did very well. So I think I can understand why he's getting perceived as someone who is the height of privilege in a lot of cases. You know the old saying, it's good to be king? Yeah, it is good to be king. And here again, I'm getting back to what I said. Yes, there's a lot of responsibilities that came with being a royal and doing public service, but it also came with some pretty cool perks and being worth a mountain of money and being able to choose any woman that you want. All of you women around the world threw themselves at their feet. It's good to be king, okay? And these people have painted themselves, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, have made themselves out to be victims of abuse, victims of their family, when the fact of the matter is, I have family members. They're all gone now, but I'm not here again. I'm not going to discuss a lot of personal things, even to honor their memory. But I can tell you some pretty bad things went down in my family, and I would imagine a lot of people got stories about bad things happening in their family. They're not unique in that case at all. So I really feel that it's disingenuous to paint yourself as a victim when the fact of the matter is you are famous for doing nothing other than being born. And your wife is famous for doing nothing other than marrying somebody who's famous for doing nothing but being born. So you've got yourself lots of millions. You've got yourself a real nice house. You have celebrity status. Anytime you need some money, all you got to do is, agree to do some documentary, some kind of a big interview, write another book with new stories. So people are always going to be interested in what you say. And I'll wrap things up by saying this. I even debated about whether I wanted to talk about this or not, but I do like the British people. I do like the British culture. And like I said, I think the United States, in terms of our style of government, I think we owe the British people a lot. And the fact of the matter is one of the reasons why our revolution was successful is normally when there's a big upheaval in a country, a lot changes. We really didn't change that much. We spoke the same language, predominantly Christian beliefs. Here again, in terms of government and rule of law, very much like Western Europe, certainly the UK. So it wasn't like our culture got turned upside down. When we go into some of these countries that have a completely different culture, kick in the door, like I said, and say, okay, we got this democracy thing for you. It's completely foreign to them. And we didn't have that. All we didn't want to do was pay taxes to a king that was on the other side of the ocean. That was basically it. So the changes in terms of a practical swing to the culture really didn't happen to a large degree. There's a lot of good that came with our lineage of that part of the world. And I don't like to see a division between us and the UK, not only in terms of this BS here, but with what's been going on recently, whether it be tariffs or politics. And I'm troubled by the fact that the UK has really gone wacko left wing, even more so than the United States. So I'm sorry that it's happening, but to me, I don't want there to become a division between us and the UK, because I really do feel that there is a good kinship there, and we should keep that alive. And what I was going to say, closing this out, I ended up talking about them because it's It's one of those things. I heard another British commentator make a remark about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and he said they refer to them as the unflushables. They are the unflushables because we simply cannot get rid of them. So anyway, I thought that was funny. All right, I'm going to talk about Bill Belichick a little bit here. And if you've been living under a rock, this is a little clip that I believe this was CBS Sunday Morning. And you can go and check the whole thing. Most of the interview was about his history with football. But then his new 24-year-old girlfriend wasn't too interested in talking about how they met. And this is the clip that really sparked the controversy. I'm going to go ahead and run that for you right now.
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
All right. So when you say that, we're not talking about this, about a very simple question. Anytime you meet a couple, anytime you meet somebody who's been married for a long time, and you're making conversation, one of the first things most people ask is, hey, how did you guys meet, right? And to get that reaction sparked a lot of speculation online about their relationship. Now, let me say this up front. And here again, this is my opinion. As near as we can tell so far, it seems like this is a situation where you have two consenting adults. Take the age difference out of this. I don't feel that there is a power dynamic here. I don't feel that, this is an older guy exerting his power and wealth over a young woman. And I don't feel that at this time that Bill Belichick is senile and is being taken advantage of by a young gold digger or something like that. I don't feel that that's happening as it stands right now. Okay. Bill Belichick has been smiling in a lot of these pictures recently. And I followed his career, not his career specifically, but over the years, I've paid attention to what he was doing. He was here in the Cleveland area for a while with the Browns, and I believe he was with the Jets for a while. And of course, what happened in New England was legendary. And he hasn't been much of a guy who does a lot of smiling. But that guy's smiling now. And it probably has to do with the fact that he's got access to a 24-year-old, very nice body. Okay. And I'm not being crude, but that's the honest to God truth. That can awaken the spirits of an older guy. And some people say it gives them their youth back to some degree. It probably, really affects your decisions. To a large degree. Some people call it being a certain type of whipped, and that's fine. But here's the thing: it does not seem like he's senile. It does not seem like he has lost his judgment. I think he's enjoying a relationship, and there has been some reports lately that she has made some major real estate purchases, and we're talking like major. We're talking like not hundreds of thousands, but like millions. $9 million worth of real estate purchases in a very recent period of time since she's been dating Bill Belichick. And here again, if this is under the context of a mutually, relationship between two consenting adults, if he wants to do that for his girlfriend, that is his choice. He probably has plenty of money. Him buying... If it indeed happened, I certainly don't know if this is true, if this money came directly from him or not, but let's presume it did. There's no question in my mind that he has those kind of resources. Okay. I mean, that's the type of money that he has. And if that's what he's choosing to do with it, and I don't want to say this to be mean, but in the twilight of his life, I mean, when you get into, I'm not a young chicken anymore. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I know that I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning. And 70s, you can still live, by my experience, pretty in a pretty healthy fashion. I mean, you start to get into your late 70s and 80s, things usually start to erode pretty quickly. And he seems like he's pretty spry for somebody who's in his early 70s. I don't know if he's 71 or what he is, but he probably wants to enjoy whatever time he has left. And I got to tell you, doing it with a 24-year-old girl is probably time well spent. So this has been a big topic where I'm from because I'm actually from a very, very active football area. This is probably one of the quintessential football areas in the country. The NFL was founded in my hometown. And because of that, the Professional Football Hall of Fame is right outside my front door. And I mean that quite literally. I could be at the Hall of Fame right now within 5 minutes if I wanted to be. This area is rich in football history. Paul Brown from this area. I could go on and on and on. A lot of people in this community, former players, names you would recognize. Josh McDaniels, who coached for New England, he played at my high school. Now, he was about 10 years younger than myself. But his dad, Tom McDaniels, was one of my teachers in high school. And Tom McDaniels became one of the quintessential high school football coaches. As a matter of fact, if you Google him, he's like considered one of the best high school football coaches ever. And I don't just mean in this area. I mean like anywhere. Okay. And so I could go on and on with this. I mean, Ohio State's right in my backyard. The Cleveland Browns, oh boy, what a circus that is. That's right in my backyard. So this is a very football-rich area. A lot of people from this area have worked for Bill Belichick when he was in Cleveland, or they worked for him when he was in New England because they were either trainers or players or something. So this has been a big topic, and the sides seem to be that this is possibly a situation where a controlling girlfriend has gotten control of an older rich man. I'm not ready to say that yet. He just might be enjoying himself, and you can take the morality and the age difference. That's all subjective. But as far as I can tell, unless we find out more information, I'm just going to say this is a young guy having a good time with a young chick, and that's it. And I know that's probably a sexist way to describe it, but that's the context that I'm kind of taking this in. There's another one, which is more positive in that this is a dual relationship in that his girlfriend, which, let's see here, her name's Jordan, and there's a lot of people who say that Jordan Hudson is not only his girlfriend, but there's a professional relationship there. That she apparently some other rich people that she has had contact with all speak very highly of her in terms of her ability to market and be a publicist. And the context that they put the interview in is that the interview was supposed to be about Bill Belichick's new book. And it was supposed to be about his history with football, which is absolutely rich. I mean, this guy has been involved with football for a long time. Okay, he lives and breathes it. So there's a lot, if you are a football fan, and I'm not that much of a fan, even though I'm from this area, I just don't buy into the hero worship that some of these professional athletes have. I think they're very talented. It's just like anything else, a great guitar player, a great singer, a great business person, but they're not heroes in that context. None of these people are throwing themselves on a grenade. All right, but I do agree that this is somebody who is very talented in terms of putting together a winning plan for football teams. So that's what the interest should be, I guess, in an ideal situation if you're a publicist. And the agreement might be, hey, look, we don't want to talk about our personal life. We want to talk about football. And when the interviewer starts asking, how did you meet, or whatever other type of question, what do you guys like to do, and all that other stuff, there's a lot of people have brought up the fact that a publicist might very well say in that situation, hey, this isn't what we're here for. We're not talking about this. Tom Cruise has done it in interviews. Other celebrities have cut off things when the questions just go too far off what the subject of the interview is supposed to be. So with that being said, I can understand that too. So the only thing I would say is that they should be managing this differently. If she is really the PR guru that they are making her out to be, then they should be handling this differently. So one footnote here on the celebrity thing is that Ruth Buzzy, you have to be of what I often say, you have to be of a certain age. You have to be of a certain age to know who Ruth Buzzy was. And, getting back to me saying that I'm closer to the end than I am the beginning, one of the things that happens when you start getting older is so many people from your childhood or from your youth that you figured you just took for granted were always going to be on TV. They were always going to be, that they start disappearing. And I could go on a long list here, whether it be Michael Jackson, Prince, Eddie Van Halen, George Michael, Burt Reynolds, so many that when I was young, I just took it for granted that those people were larger than life and they're always going to be there. And they're gone. Now, Ruth Buzzy wasn't that type of a monstrous figure in terms of celebrity, but like many people who are in Generation X and spent their evenings on the living room floor with their parents sitting in the chairs, and that's how things were in the 70s. Kids always laid on the floor or whatever with their toys and this and that. And I can remember Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Ruth Buzzy made a lot of guest appearances on different comedy shows, and she was always so funny. She was just so funny, and she passed away at 88 years old. Apparently, she had some sort of Alzheimer's, one of those versions of dementia, and it's always so sad because that it takes such a long time to go that way, and the deterioration is so heartbreaking. But another person that here again I can remember very well from my childhood, Ruth Buzzy, gone at 88. So so sorry that happened. But she was. We need a lot of laughs in this world. We need laughs more than ever. And anybody who delivered them so well, I always feel that that's a passing of our culture, a passing of our memories of our youth. And so rest in peace. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this. Here again, if you're new, we usually run about a half hour, 45 minutes. And I wanted to do a fun conversation about this whole thing with Prince Harry and wrapping it up with Belichick. Our first Friday night show, so I hope you enjoyed our Friday night show. Now, here again, if you're new, sometimes when you move to a new time slot, some other things going on, we get a new audience. Here again, we have a lot of interviews on this program, and we do discuss current events, a lot of times some very serious ones. My co-host Cynthia and I, we covered for about a year leading up to the presidential election. We covered that, and we tried to do it in a humorous way. Cynthia is, part of the rotation here now, as are a number of other people that come on and co-host with me on these lives, and it's almost always some kind of politics or current events. So we have a lot of fun here, and I would certainly direct you to our playlist. You can find the Billy Dees podcast on any podcasting platform. As far as I know, we're certainly on all the major ones. All the major ones, we are there. with a 10-year history. Pick a couple out, listen to us, and get a good feel of what we're like, because we cover a lot of topics. A lot of our interviews do cover, people's journey. Sometimes it's a journey of trauma. Sometimes it's a journey of recovery from a bad accident. Whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's mental health. Sometimes it's addiction. So we cover a lot of things here. You just don't get one flavor with the Billy Dees podcast. If you want to follow me on social media, real easy to find. I've been on what was once Twitter and now X. Here again, we have a history that's probably about 10 or 15 years on X. That's kind of like my social media home, and real easy to find at Billy Dees. And last week, our guest was Chris Weekly, and have that in the ticker here. He talks about autism. And that turned out, you can check out our playlist for that. That turned out to be a very heartfelt episode. And the discussion was in the wake of RFK Jr.'s remarks about autism. As someone who has that diagnosis, what was the reaction and what are some of the nuances of that? I feel that we covered that very well. So do check that out. That's right in the playlist. Go to your favorite podcasting platform and find us. We also have a very small, I have a very small Facebook page. I'm not sure how many people follow it, but it's a small but active group. And we don't just make the Facebook page about, hey, this is our latest episode, watch it. We do more than that. So check us out on that as well. We have a lot of things about behind the scenes. We talk about new equipment that we've purchased here. And we talk about marketing trends and other things that are going on, what we're doing with social media and some of our strategy there. And a lot of people, even though it's a small group, I'm very surprised at the engagement that people really do like that stuff. It is absolutely free to check out the Billy Dees podcast. You can subscribe on your favorite platform. There is no fee for that. Same with our social media. There's no paywalls in any of our social media. Our revenue and streams come, you will hear advertisements before the Billy Dees podcast plays. We do other things in terms of production. We actually do a lot of production work here. But our listeners are paramount. Our listeners are of utmost importance, because without somebody listening, what's the point in doing all this? So we have, like I said, especially on the podcast platforms, a very long and loyal, they've been with us a long time, and we appreciate every single one of them. So that's going to do it for tonight. Have yourself a great weekend, and we will talk to you again very, very soon.
Thank you for listening to the Billy Dees podcast. Follow Billy Dees on X at Billy Dees for updates about the program.
Do you listen to music or audiobooks on streaming devices such as Sonos or Amazon speakers? How about on your car sound system? If you use Spotify, Audible, or Amazon Music on any of these systems, you can also listen to the Billy Dees podcast the same way. Billy and his team go the extra mile to make sure our podcasts sound as good or better than anything on the radio. Listening to the Billy Dees podcast has never been easier. You literally just have to ask.